Add me to the stream. Okay, there we go. Looks like they blocked me on the last broadcast. Looks like that's what happened. They blocked me, man. Or maybe the Jesus talk was too heavy. I don't know, Tyrone. I don't know. I don't know. We rolling now though. I'm gonna give it a few minutes that everyone kind of come back, get back on it. Yeah. Peace, peace, peace. Sorry about that. They blocked it on my personal page. I'm not sure what happened. What's up, Kwame? I'm not sure what happened. I was just pressing forward, so only people who are watching via YouTube and League of Intelligence were able to hear the first 30 minutes of the class. No problem though. I'll post the YouTube video so you can see the first 30 minutes. But yeah, hopefully people can get back in, catch back up. So we were finishing up with some of the churches that Ethiopia built, and we're talking about that swastika and how that was a symbol, ancient symbol used by Black folks and other people long before they came along. It represents prosperity, and then they took it and kind of bastardized it and used it to colonize other people. Kind of like how they use spirituality to do the same thing. But we're good. So can everyone hear me? Can everyone hear me clear? Can you see me clear? Can you see the images? Let me know. Hopefully they didn't block me again. Hopefully I'm clear. You guys can see. Shout out to you, Ashley. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Looks like I'm good. Y'all let me know, and I'll keep pressing forward. We'll start fresh with the Swahili. We'll start fresh with the Swahili states. I know Ashley's good. Miss Stuckey, I appreciate you. Appreciate you. All right, cool. I think we're good. What up, Freddie Ray? We good? All right, cool. Cool. Apologize for the inconvenience. All right, so Swahili. Again, we're talking about what were Black people doing before slavery, period. What were we doing? What were we doing? Why don't they want us to know this information? What will this information do to Black people if they were to get introduced to it? What would happen? What trajectory would we be on? What mindset would we have? Would we settle for the way things are and the condition of our neighborhoods, condition of our schools? What's happening to our families? Would we settle for that if we knew and had a proper understanding of where we come from, what we've accomplished, what our culture was, what our values were, our principles? Would we in fact be the same people we are today? I say no. I say we would be different. We're a different type of people when we have our roots, when we understand where we come from, what we accomplished, who we really are, our culture, et cetera, et cetera. We're different people. We're different people. And so we're following up on this particular group, the Swahili. The Swahili are on the eastern side of Africa. They speak the language Kiswahili, and like all the other groups that are part of the African family on the African continent, our ancestors, they also were on point and thriving. We need this information. This information can change the game relative to your mindset, because we're being attacked psychologically, psychological warfare, miseducation of the people. The whip is gone. The chains are gone. There's no more guns to force us to do what they want us to do. Our ancestors beat that. Now we have to face the miseducation of the system. That's what we have to do. What's going on, Shahid? That's what we have to do. Use this information, this knowledge from the past, into today's time and build for the future. That's what we have to do. Combat the people trying to stop us from living a higher level of human life that matched our ancestors. That's what we have to do. Take this information, convert it, use it as an antidote. So we're talking about Swahili. We talked about the West Coast of Africa. Now we're on the East Coast. We talked about Abyssinia and Aksum. Matter of fact, I'm going to go back just a little bit. People who were watching before, just real quick. What I want to do is I want to go back because they blocked me on this channel on my personal page. They had the broadcast blocked, but we're back now. So now here's what we're going to do. We're going to backtrack just a little bit, right, to right here. We're talking about Aksum. We're talking about ancient Ethiopia. We're talking about during that time, it was Aksum, the Roman Empire, and the Persian Empire. Those were your top three. We were saying we always see depictions of the Romans and even the Persians, but we never see movies, films, documentaries on the empire of Aksum. And they were a force to be reckoned with. Information we need to know about ourselves. We need this right here. So I kind of went back. I went back also because in 50 AD, look at the screen here, 50 AD, which is what kicks off this golden age that Africa was in. Zaskalies comes along and he's the first person to take on the title Niggas Nagast. Niggas Nagast. King of Kings. Huh? Niggas Nagast. The etymology of the word is connected to royalty. Your lineage is founded in royalty. Niggas means king. We're not making it up to feel good. This is inscripted. This is historical record. Right? And it just so happens this particular time, 50 AD, kicks off a golden age for the continent of Africa that lasts over 1,000 years. Niggas Nagast. They try to use a different word now, try to use a different context to describe that. Huh? And it's trash. This is the original word. Now we're getting hyped. Because see, I'm mad because they blocked me. I'm mad they tried to block this information because of some stupid instrumental playing in the background. Huh, Tyrone? Let's work. Let's work. Over here playing games. So let me talk about Aksum real quick. Aksum was a major force. Look at those. Look at that trade network. Kush, Egypt, Romans, Arabia, India, Sri Lanka, China. All of them were trading with the people of Aksum. All of them. They're merchants. They had high business acumen. They developed things with their skills. Usable products that people wanted. And they traded those things for money. Money. Aksum, look at the coin currency. And on the gold coin featured all of the niggas Nagas. They had about 20 of them. Talking about kings. On gold, silver, and bronze coins. Niggas Nagas. The kings were on the coins. We went over that Adulis inscription. And the niggas Nagas declared, and I'll read it again, it declared, he called for peace among the nations under his rule, freedom of movement, talking about the niggas Nagas, safety along the caravan routes, and uninterrupted import and export of goods by land or sea, decreed by the niggas Nagast. The king. Are y'all with me today? Come on, man. I'm hyped now. Y'all want to block something? Block this, Facebook. You want to block something? Block that. Huh? Let's go. Let's do some more. So here are the coins. Here are the coins. You can Google this. There's like over 20 of them. Over 20 of them featuring the niggas Nagas on the coins. Gold, silver, bronze. You'll find these coins. They even found these coins in Australia. Our coins were everywhere. We had a massive trade network, like I said. And then we talked about in 350 AD, King Ezana comes along. He talks about establishing Christianity as the state religion. And we said, we're not talking about no whitewashed, white Jesus Christianity. We're talking about Christianity within an African framework, meaning no group came along and brought Christianity and colonized any of the Aksum or Ethiopian people. That's not what happened. And I said we're going to go over more of that in weeks to come. We're going to deal with exactly how Ethiopia, a Christian nation within African framework, was never colonized, never enslaved. There was no white Jesus or nothing like that. No white Jesus. Get out of here with that. It's not what happened. It's not what happened. Anytime, matter of fact, in Swahili and Mutapa, they were Muslim. But again, within the African framework, a group didn't come along and use religion to colonize them. That's not what happened. When the framework is African, when the cultural framework is Afrocentric, it's us. It doesn't colonize, it enriches. That's why Aksum, a Christian nation of African people, one of the richest in the planet. That's why the Swahili Muslim nation within the African framework, one of the richest in the world. African framework. African framework. And then I showed you some of these images. If you here before, we had a image of Jesus Christ to the left. That's found in Egypt. We see those other two on the right. Those are found in Europe, specifically Italy. On the top right, that's Abraham and Isaac. On the bottom right, that's Jesus and his disciples depicted as black people. I'm only bringing that up because the imagery wasn't used to colonize. That's all I'm trying to say. There's Ethiopian Christianity, then there's European Christianity. We know the results of European Christianity. We've seen that. Same way there's African Islam, then there's Arabic Islam. We've seen what the Arabs did to Sudan and other parts, using religion to colonize. That's not what happened in the beginning. Just want to put that out there. Talking about our history. Hope you're not offended by that. It's part of our history. Let's understand why. So I'm just catching up because, again, they blocked the broadcast. So we're back now. So on this screen, I was just talking about summarizing some of the emperors that Ethiopia had. I focused on the one on the bottom, Emperor Lalibela, and then we were just talking about the architecture and the engineering skills of our people who built churches into the ground. That engineering feat is unmatched during this particular time. So we're going over some of the pictures of this. Again, we're not talking about any colonizing framework here. We're talking about African people, black people, your ancestors who were free, proud, and productive people prior to any invasion. So this is some of the engineering skills that your ancestors displayed. Architectural skills, right? Build these into the ground. So went over some of these pictures and different things like that. Tyrone, you good? I'm good. All right. So that was that. Now we're back to the Swahili states. And we talk about Swahili. If you look at this map, we're talking about the eastern side of Africa. So Somalia, Kenya, Tanzania, Mozambique. That's your main spot you're talking about when you talk about the Swahili people, whose language was Kiswahili. Right? So we're on the eastern side. We've done the western side. We're doing eastern and some of the south today. It's already 7:45. They tried to block us, but we're here. Right? So 700 AD, when the Swahili Empire pretty much took off, Kiswahili is the language. It's a mixture of the Bantu and Arabic language. Make no mistake, it is an African language, even though there's some Arabic mixed in. All right? Take a look at that quote. We're going to move along because of time's sake. It's a land abounding in gold, rich in wonderful things, and very fertile. Talking about the land of the Swahili. The king took on the title. I pronounce it as Waglimi. It could be something else because that's my English. You know, I'm not sure what the specific pronunciation is. If anyone has that, please put that in the comments. At an army of 300,000 compared to the United States, which has 400,000, give or take. That's how large the Swahili Empire's army was. All right, I'm going to skip down to massive trade network. All throughout Africa, they were trading. In Arabia, they were trading. Persia, India, China, Australia, New Zealand. They built their own ships during this time and sailed to those places. Take a look at the time frame again, 700 AD to 1505. Your ancestors, part of your ancestry, the Swahili, built ships and sailed all around the world pretty much. Persia, India, China, Australia, New Zealand. We have that side of the world covered. In 2 weeks, we're going to go over the black presence in America. We're going to talk about how we built ships and sailed over to the Americas prior to any European doing so. So we're going to talk about that. Block that, Facebook. You want to block something, block that. Here goes some ships. Here goes some ships that we built, illustrations. And the Swahili had major cities. This is a list of some of the major cities. Black folks built cities. Your ancestors built cities, thriving cities, wealthy cities, free, proud, and productive people putting in work. All right. This is what your people can do. This is what we can do if we get this oppression off our back. We're able to build great things. Let's get specific. They had the trade, gold, jewelry, ivory, iron. They had something called Wootz steel, which was used to make Damascus blades, considered superior quality. They were smelting steel, iron for over 1,500 years. No other group was doing it at the time. 1,450 degrees. That was the temperature. If you go over 1570, you'll melt the steel. So you have to stay right in that pocket of 1450. Another one says Swahili hospitality. What do we mean by that? Swahili hospitality, meaning when ships sailed into their harbor, came into their ports, they had their young people with meals prepared, meet them. They met them, give them some meals, and then they said, you have a place to stay for as long as you're here. Free lodging, free food. Swahili hospitality. Then they gave them an escort around the city. Wherever you need to go, we'll escort you around the city. You're our guest. Because that's what black people do. Then look at the other line, Kilwa. Kilwa is one of the most beautiful and well-constructed cities in the world. And that's just one of them. The whole of it is elegantly built. What's going on, Bumani and Brandy? It's all good. They blocked the broadcast on this channel, but it's still on the League of Intelligence channel and League of Intelligence Network YouTube page. You can see the first part over there. No problem. No problem. They can't stop it. Again, Kilwa is one of the most beautiful and well-constructed cities in the world. The whole of it is elegantly built. You build cities. You see our neighborhoods today doesn't match this. Why? What's the difference? Here, we're free, proud, and productive people. What's the difference that we live here now? And our neighborhoods and communities are in shambles. What's the common? Well, I'll get off of that. Look at this. Next line. Houses in Swahili cities are 4 to 5 stories high. And that's according to not just European records, that's also Chinese records that stipulate 4 to 5 stories high. Indoor toilets at this time. Running piped water controlled by taps. One more time. Indoor toilets, not a typo. Running piped water controlled by taps. This is what you've built. This is where you come from. We don't come from ghettos and mass poverty. You'll never find that before European invasion. You won't find us living like that. It's not what we do. It's not our culture. Here's the strength of why, one of the reasons why you need to know this type of history, because they suggest that the type of communities we live in now called ghettos is a result of who we are, as if it's part of our culture. This is what black people do. They live like this. It's their own doing. But you can get away with that when you don't have a point of reference. But now that we have a point of reference and we're starting to see what we've built all throughout the continent before any kind of European invasion, we see that's not who we are. These conditions, we've never lived in those conditions before. Those things were brought upon us. We have a high standard of living. It's right here. I have the historical book right here too. When We Ruled. Get this book. Outstanding book. But we have the knowledge now. We don't come from this. We don't come from this. Again, indoor toilets, running pipe and water controlled by taps. Let's work. Palaces. That's not a typo either. Palaces had 100 rooms, reception hall, courtyards, pool in the shape of an octagon. It had a pool in the shape of an octagon. Let's go. Look at the quote. I'm not sure if you can see the quote fully on this page because it kind of got cut off. But they were finally rich, finally clad, finally dressed in many rich garments of gold and silk and cotton, and the women as well. And then the other part of it was cut off, but you could already see where it's going. A high standard of living, people dressed nice, not poor, not living in mud huts, right? Not looking for salvation from some other group. All this propaganda they tried to feed us. This is the truth right here. This is where you come from. The whole point of going over this is to let this change the mindset, change how we see ourselves, change how we see our people, and demand higher excellence, not only from ourselves, but demand things to be corrected while we live in this country. Are y'all with me on that? I hope so. 751. That's all right. Y'all want to block something. This is a picture of some of the steel and the weapons used from the steel that your ancestors made, considered the finest in the world at that time. considered the finest in the world at that time. This is kind of like the ruins of the palace I was talking about. You know, it's old now. The one with 100 rooms and the pool in the shape of an octagon. I believe I have on the next slide what it would look like. Someone did like a drawing of what it was supposed to look like during that time. So this is kind of like an illustration of that. You can see the pool right there too. I mean, listen, that means we could swim. Hello, somebody. We've always been a swimming people. I don't know where in the world we come up with this. Black people don't swim, don't like water and all the other kind of stuff. That's garbage. We've always been a swimming people. How many can swim? I quit, Tyrone. I don't know where we get some of these things from, man. We're not afraid of water. We're not afraid of water. Great Zimbabwe, but it's only 7:52. So I'm going to save Great Zimbabwe and some others for next time. 7:53. I'll wrap up here and just say question and answer time. But because they like I said, they blocked us before, and I don't want to go over time, but I'll do a little bit of Great Zimbabwe anyway, though, because I'm just too hyped. Listen, you see the map. I'll do a little bit and then we'll stop. You see the map right there. Great Zimbabwe. Now the country is called Zimbabwe, which means great revered house. Here's a picture of that. I'll minimize a little bit. Minimize a little bit so that you can see a better picture of Great Zimbabwe, capital city. This is just part of the ruins that they have right here. And just real quick, established in 1000 AD, and then I'll stop after this one. 1000 AD, great revered house is equal to the size and population of London in the 14th century. Great Zimbabwe was equal to the size and population of London in the 14th century. Just for some scale and some comparison. They were a self-sustaining city-state with trade networks. Not surprising. That's what our people do. We establish prosperous economic relationships with other groups. It's what we do. We don't need another group to do that for us. We develop products and have services that other people want and that are in high demand. High demand, and we establish positive relationships with these people. Now, the Acropolis, I'll go back one slide. When they say Acropolis, they're talking about this large building up there at the top. Now, remember, that's European records calling it an Acropolis. We call it something else. I just need to get that information. And that Acropolis, so they say, was built using 100,000 tons of brick used for the outer wall with no mortar. So we're talking about dry stone walling, meaning they placed each one of these bricks without using the mortar to connect them, right? Just place them there. And that's how long it's lasted, over 1,000 years. Craftsmanship, engineering skills, your people. It was also used for astronomy. They could observe the Milky Way, observe the equinox and the solstice, all in the Great Zimbabwe, your ancestors, on point. That's just some scale picture. You see the guy on the bottom, kind of give you an idea of how large the wall is. Again, this is dry stone walling, no mortar used. No mortar used. Closer picture, you can look at it. No mortar used. Just placement, skills. And then we'll pick up next week with Mana Mutapa as we go along. But let me just again, they blocked it, but it's all good. No problem. We'll come back again with it. Anybody had any questions? I'll fast forward to the question and answer part. Anyone have any questions about any of the previous 3 weeks? Anything you saw today? Any questions, period? What spiritual text did the Ethiopians actually glean from? A couple of them. But mainly the Bible. The Ethiopian Bible and the European Bible are different. Ethiopian Bible, I believe, has 88 books as opposed to 66, 88. And the cultural framework is different. And understanding the cultural context of things is important. That's important. And we're going to get into that specifically, Richard, in a couple of weeks when we talk about how is it that Ethiopia, of all the African nations, how is it that Ethiopia was never colonized and never enslaved? We're going to get into that. And spirituality is at the heart of that. So we're definitely going to talk about that. They also had a couple of Ethiopian epics like the Keeper Nagast. Keeper Nagast was another book they gleaned from. And we'll talk about that in a few weeks. Ethiopia and Haiti are case studies we have to dive into. Ethiopia and Haiti. Definitely got to study those two all the way out. They provide some answers. Any other questions that we have? Comments, questions? And again, apologies for them blocking the broadcast. All good. I'm going to get even more aggressive since they want to block things. We're going to get even more aggressive going forward. No problem. No problem. You want to block something? I'm going to give you something to block. Let's work. Let's work. What up, Bomani? Let's work. So that's what they want to do. How did the term nigga get to the U.S.? We'll talk about that. We'll break that down too. Negro and Niggers. I don't know if they're trying to block that for saying that, but we'll deal with those two words. We'll deal with those two words. I see it on the it spelled it out. I don't know if that'll. I don't know. What's up, Tamara? How you doing? Good to see you. Nah, nothing happened. They just blocked it. I don't know what was on. It's on the League of Intelligence page. It's on that. I'm not sure what happened with the other stuff. But yeah, man, I appreciate y'all joining in either way it goes. Appreciate you joining. And we'll pick it up next week. We'll also talk about, we'll also start the Black presence in Asia. And RIP, thank you, Mustucky. RIP to the ancestor, Dr. Wanuko Rashidi. Rise on the other side. We're going to dedicate that broadcast to him, who did a lot of pioneering work in the Asian region to let us know, to connect us to that information, key information. So 7 p.m., bring a friend, get your family members. It's only 1 hour. History is not the most sexiest thing in the world, but boy, it does a lot of work. It's a foundational piece that's required, right? So yeah, Abibi Fahodie, African liberation, Black liberation. See y'all next week, 7 o'clock sharp. Also, for those who are involved in the Stop the Violence session on Thursdays, we had a great turnout, lots of involvement on Thursday. If you want more information about that, let me know. You can hit my inbox. We were in I think we're starting week 4 this week. Last week was pretty good. Again, Stop the Violence. If you're interested in that Charlotte, North Carolina initiative, let me know. But yeah, man, I'll catch y'all next week, 7 o'clock. All right. Appreciate y'all. Have a good one.